90% of the jobs in Gaza today are government jobs. I won't make a joke about that. And it's not like these are the malicious intent towards the Jews, the hatred for the Jews, the kill the Jews mentality. It's not like it's extraneous to this struggle. It is this struggle. The father of Palestinian nationalism was Haj Amin al-Husseini, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, who led massacres of the Jews in the 20s and 30s because they were Jews before the creation of the State of Israel. He was a Nazi. He went to Berlin, literally a Nazi. He went to Berlin to serve Hitler. He was a protege, by the way, of Hassan al-Banna, the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. He went to Berlin and recruited an Arab legion to fight for Hitler. And he also drew up his own plans to create an Auschwitz, death camps, in the Middle East. And the only reason that those plans weren't implemented was because of the defeat of Rommel and Al-Alamein. Today, he is honored as the George Washington of the Palestinians. There's holidays in his honor. Haj Amin al-Husseini. This is a Nazi movement. The quotes I read you at the outset are Nazi quotes. The difference is this. Hitler hid his plans for a final solution from the German people because he thought they were too civilized to accept them. The Palestinians and the Iranians, who were, they're not Arabs, but the Iranians, they shouted from the rooftops. And where's the great dissent in the Muslim world? Look, sorry all our Muslim friends have left, but there are good Muslims and there are bad Muslims. And the majority of Muslims are probably good Muslims. But there are good Germans too, and in the end they didn't make a damn's worth of difference. Not a damn's worth of difference. I will know a moderate Muslim when they stand up and condemn these kind of statements and the actions that they inspire. It's not really hard to know who your friends are. But a lot of people have difficulty in knowing who their enemies are. And that's the problem we are facing today. Since Gaza is, for the younger people here, is something that they remember, let's go into Gaza. As I said, the Jews offered to give Gaza back to Egypt. Now, the reason they were occupying Gaza, and Egypt rejected it, for 3 no's. No negotiation, no recognition, no peace. The reason that they occupied Gaza was they had been invaded twice. Well, actually, 3 times. Because they were attacked again in 1973. But at some point, of course, there's all this global pressure. Why is there a global pressure? Not only because Islam is global, but also because the left, the secular international left, which is supposed to care about women and gays, were hung from cranes in Islamic country, and women, there is no greater oppressor of women in the world today than Islam. With that, there isn't even the slightest question. 90% of the women of Egypt have their clitorises sliced off from Muslim custom. And most of these clitorectomies are done without anesthetic on adolescent girls with kitchen knives. Where's the outcry? What's the Women's Studies Department on this campus saying about that? I actually have visited them on occasion and asked them, and you should hear their excuses. So Gaza, Sharon decided that Israel would unilaterally withdraw from Gaza, because there's this incredible pressure that comes. It's the settlements that are the problem. There were 7,500 Jews in Gaza. Why are settlements a problem? There are a million, more than a million Arabs settled in Israel. It's not a problem for it's becoming a problem because they're increasingly being swept up in this Islamic revolution that's taking place that we ludicrously call the Arab Spring.
Yeah.
It's the Muslim winter is what it is. Why are settlements a problem? What's wrong with Jews living in the West Bank? It's because the Arabs are racist. Racism isn't obvious, but it's the same idea. They hate the Jews and they don't want any Jews living there. How do I know? Because Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the PLO, has said so in so many words. There are not going to be any Jews in a liberated Palestine. What era does it have to be? And yet, there's not a Jewish organization on this campus that is supporting this speech. Whether you agree with it or not, if you're a Jew, you should understand that this is a speech to defend the Jews. It's an utter disgrace. So Sharon decided we're going to unilaterally, and of course Jews don't want to be occupiers. Why should they? They're too busy creating cell phones. It's the most creative, productive society on the face of the earth, which is also why the Arabs hate Israel. Because of their creativity and productivity. Because it shows what a blight Islam, as it is currently interpreted, is on the Arab world. There are 300 million Arabs, there are 5 million Finns, and Finland, if you take away the oil that God, in one of his black moments, put under the earth there, if you take away their oil, their gross national product is less than that of Finland. And why is that? Well, part of the reason is that they keep all their women ignorant. They can't go to college. One of the reasons they overthrew the Shah was because he allowed women to get educated in Iran. The Ayatollah didn't like that. So the illiteracy rates are humongous in the Arab world. No wonder they're backward. So Sharon decided we're going to remove this pretext for not signing a peace treaty. He misread the intentions. Okay, so they evacuated Gaza unilaterally. They also evacuated the 7,500 Jews who did not want to leave. They forcibly, that is Israel, forcibly removed the 7,500 Jews in Gaza. Why? Because they would have been massacred if he left them. Come on, this is not rocket science. What did those Jews do? Well, first of all, they were law-abiding. Yeah, they were Jews, they weren't Arabs. There are 1,200,000 Arabs, or 1,300,000, living in Gaza. The Jews, not only were they law-abiding, but they created a horticulture industry with greenhouses and irrigation and so forth. And they produced 10% of the entire gross national product of Gaza. Not a rich country. 10% is significant stuff. And if I may be self-critical about my own people, this is how sappy we Jews are. To make this peace gesture complete, to put the ribbons on it, Mortimer Zuckerman, the publisher of U.S. News, collected $14 million from Jewish philanthropists to buy the greenhouses and give it to the Palestinians or the Arabs, whatever you want to call them, of Gaza, as a peace gesture. On the day Hamas took over Gaza, on the day the Israelis left, Hamas destroyed the greenhouses, the irrigation, the whole industry, and started firing rockets into schoolyards in Sderot.
They're still doing it.
8,000 rockets have been fired. And what kind of rockets are they? They're not rockets that you hit a military installation with. They're incredibly inaccurate. They're just terrorist weapons against civilian populations. These are Nazis. That's who they are. And yet, on college campuses, we have people wringing their hands over the poor Gazans because after 3 years or whatever it was of accepting the unacceptable, how long do you think a country like America would allow, say Canada, to launch rockets into schoolyards in this country with no reprisal? But the Jews did it. And then when they struck back, all you hear on college campuses is people crying over civilians that were killed in the attack. Well, why were they killed in the attack? Well, Hamas put its headquarters under a hospital. Hamas installs its rockets in neighborhoods where people live. And you would think that there wouldn't be so many idiots in the West who would fall for this, but there are.